So the game has ended. Liverpool 1, Arsenal 0 after one of the goals of the season from Dominic Szoboszlai. We all know he's got a screamer in his locker, and I think putting him on free kicks this season will be one of the best decisions Liverpool made because that that could decide the title at the end of the season. You know, if it gets down to the final day, Liverpool and Arsenal title favourites, and Liverpool are 1 point ahead of Arsenal, and it's in Liverpool's hands. Liverpool can look back at that Szoboszlai moment and say that that is the reason we won the league this season, if that happens. And look, Arteta may regret that because Arteta has not won one of his last 15 games against Arsenal or City away. He's drawn 7, he's lost 8. He has a very good unbeaten record against the top 6 over 1,000 days, 22 games. But he's not got a good win record at the Etihad or a good win record at Anfield because I felt like Arteta set up to draw that game 0-0. And I think with Liverpool being gettable in transition, Arteta may regret that come the end of the season. Like, I would have started Eze if I was Arsenal. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my opinion as a neutral fan that wanted Arsenal to win, but not really. A draw was probably what I wanted on the game. Talking from the overview, I think man of the match was Szoboszlai, Arteta being passive. We'll talk about Curtis Jones, the subs, why I think Slot got a lot of things right. I want to talk about Wirtz. I thought there was signs in the second half. He showed improvement. I thought Salah was atrocious today. Wirtz is getting a lot of this heat online, but Wirtz was a lot better than Salah today. We'll talk about Van Dijk, Alisson, Arsenal positives. Mascara was good, Calafiore, Madueke. We'll just talk about, there's a lot I want to break down from the game on Liverpool and on Arsenal because while it wasn't the most exciting game in the world, I feel like we learned a lot from that game in general. Like, it was a crap game, but from a defensive standpoint, it was quite good, and the defense was nullifying the attack. And from a tactical standpoint, but it was like both games were a little bit frayed in that first half. And I think Arsenal were the slightly better team in the first half, but Liverpool were definitely the better team in the second half. I think Arne Slot was like, this is winnable. Let's actually go for it. And I think he made the right call with Curtis Jones. Like, McAllister, unbelievable player, but clearly wasn't fit. And Curtis Jones keeping the ball and allowing Wirtz to actually not be needed and build up as much. I think Liverpool looked a lot better in the second half. And I felt that Liverpool were going to win the game. And it's ironic that Liverpool won for a set piece and not Arsenal. And look, I didn't want Liverpool to win, but as a Man United fan, you know, considering we played quite well against Arsenal, they won with a set piece. It's quite nice to see it happen to Arsenal the other way. But let's talk about the game because look, first half I don't think Liverpool were good. I think Arsenal were the better side in the first half, and I think had they had Eze and not Martinelli on that left-hand side, could have been a different game. Now, some people will say Eze's new, Arteta's easing him in. Sometimes they do that when a player's new and not had a pre-season and not played a game. But Eze has played with Palace this season, has had a pre-season, is fit. I just think Arteta was too passive. No Odegaard, no Eze, you have Marino, be more defensive. And I feel like Arteta, yes, he had a really good record of 22 games unbeaten against the Big Six, but he doesn't go to win those games, he goes to not lose. And I think if you want to win titles, you need to be more risky. I think, look, both teams did well defensively. I think Saliba coming off was a big blow and Mascara really impressed me. But the first half was rubbish. It was 0.09 actually to Liverpool. Arsenal 0.24. The first half was one of the crappiest first halves of football I watched. And I'm thinking, these are the two title contenders. And then I go back to, well, one or two of the Arsenal versus City games, how it was passive. And I think both teams weren't taking risks. And I think Arteta goes to the Etihad and Anfield not to lose, because at the end of the day, a point at Anfield and Etihad is a good point, don't get me wrong, and Arteta's well within his rights to do that. But I think if Arsenal want to be better than City and Liverpool, I think they should come at Liverpool more. I think with Liverpool being vulnerable in the first two games on the transition, Konate being vulnerable, bit of pace, look what Semenyo did. I think that Arsenal would play their best football in the last 10 minutes when they had to give it a go. Look, Liverpool grew stronger. Liverpool did well after the break, and I think Slot got a substitution spot on. I was actually saying at half-time, I think they need to get Curtis Jones on for McAllister, someone that can keep the ball. And at the end of the day, that is massive for Liverpool, because the way I look at it is they have Newcastle, Bournemouth, and Arsenal as the opening three games. Arguably, Liverpool probably had the hardest opening three fixtures, or you could argue someone else. Burnley didn't have easy fixtures, but Liverpool had three really tough fixtures. And, you know, St James's Park is a game and a place to go when not many teams get 3 points. They got 3 points in interesting style. Bournemouth, it's a difficult game. Bournemouth caused people a lot of problems. But we know what Bournemouth can do on their day. And Arsenal, with the big win over Leeds, with Arteta's record against the Big Six, for Liverpool to get 9 points out of 9, when everybody's sort of I wouldn't say writing them off, but a lot of people have been quite critical of Liverpool. In the sense of Liverpool's defence is a mess, Liverpool's midfield's a mess. They've got all of these attackers, but they haven't got depth here. And I get that. They need Mark Gay. They need Mark Gay and Isak 100%, particularly Mark Gay. I think they're going to get, but who knows? They need that. Don't get me wrong. Semenyo caused them issues. Crystal Palace caused them issues. Newcastle, the second half they were atrocious, caused them issues. They're definitely gettable, Liverpool. But I feel like the media's given this very big overreaction for Liverpool to just get 3 points out of 3. Because what Liverpool have, at the end of the day, is individual quality. And when you have the individual quality Liverpool have, you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to concede goals because you know that Salah could have a crap game and score a wonder goal. And that was one of the worst games I've seen Salah have. His touch was atrocious. You know, we know what Gakpo can do. Gakpo could do nothing the whole game, but give him the ball in the right area in the left half space and he can get off a strike. Florian Wirtz has that quality to do something and, you know, put a really good ball into Salah and Salah fluffed it and actually grew into the second half. Szoboszlai has that kind of goal in his locker. And I've always said the difference between Man City's title winning years and Liverpool's title winning years and Arsenal was I felt like Man City and Liverpool had people that would win them a game even if they weren't at their best in a moment. And I think that's something that Arsenal have lacked. But I want to talk about man of the match, Szoboszlai, because as you can see on the screen, I thought he was excellent. Now, Szoboszlai was my man of the match before he got his goal. I was writing about him in my notes. I was like, Szoboszlai so far my man of the match because his energy, his pressing, his athleticism is there. And then when he scores the free kick, he's like, well, he's 100% man of the match now because that is one of the best free kicks I've seen. That was a phenomenal free kick, absolutely outrageous. And look, I thought he was your best player versus Newcastle. I think he's been your best player so far this season. I thought he was very good in pre-season. I think a lot of people had doubts of him with Wirtz coming in. But Szoboszlai's just gone up to a new level. You know, his energy, pressing, athleticism is good. And I've always said this about Dominic Szoboszlai. Whenever you've played a big six opponent, whether it be Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham, Szoboszlai has been one of your best players, probably in your top 3 performers in every game you played last season against the big six. And I think that is because he can bring the intensity. And sometimes in those big games, you need to be more intense. And he brings the intensity through his running, his relentless pressure. He's an athlete, the amount of ground he can cover. He's physically good. And today, look, Martinelli isn't a very good player. He's a mid-table player, in my opinion. I got so much stick from Arsenal fans for saying I think Garnacho is better than Martinelli. But I do. You know, I think that Martinelli, look, I gave him a lot of leeway last season because I said maybe the dynamics of not having overlapping left back doesn't help him, but I'm just not moved by Martinelli. But Szoboszlai, you know, don't take that away from Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai pocketed Martinelli. Szoboszlai was excellent versus Martinelli. And I think in all the big games when it comes to movement, physicality, you can see why Szoboszlai is every manager's dream. And one thing about Szoboszlai, now, if you go back and watch my old videos, which was too much effort, so I understand why you wouldn't, but if you've watched them, you'll know I've mentioned many times that Szoboszlai's ball striking is elite. Szoboszlai needs to take more shots outside the box because he can win games. We've seen him score free kicks for Hungary. We've seen what he's done before he moved to Liverpool, scoring really good goals from outside the box, either free kicks or in open play. And I think now Trent's gone, it gives Szoboszlai a bit more license on set pieces, but Szoboszlai has those moments in him. And I've always said on open play he should shoot more and he should take set pieces. And look, that paid off for him today. I want to talk about Wirtz, Van Dijk, Ekatike, Arne Slot. I thought Chiesa actually was decent when he came on, but I thought Curtis Jones was the best sub. But I do think Arteta's passive. He set up for a 0-0, and I get that. Anfield, Etihad, you want to be safe. But I do think constantly being safe hasn't won him any titles yet. Look, I felt for Gyökeres. Gyökeres didn't even notice him in the game. But Gyökeres is very good in transition, very good in the channels. And if Arsenal played the ball a bit quicker and a bit more aggressive and looked to play down the channels, I think Gyökeres could have caused some issues with the space that Liverpool sometimes leave. And I felt that Arteta should have utilised that more rather than just parking the bus. I thought Eze came on and instantly looked more threatening than Martinelli. And look, only after going behind did Arsenal show some urgency. Maybe Eze sub helped with that. But Arsenal in the last 10-15 minutes of the game showed something. And I think you could see that Liverpool were a bit vulnerable. And I'm surprised that they didn't try and get at Liverpool a little bit more. I think Liverpool scoring that goal so late helped them because I think if it was a whole half of Arsenal getting at Liverpool, it could have been a different game because we saw how Liverpool were 2-0 up versus Semenyo, sat back a bit, a team went at them, caused them problems. 2-0 up versus Newcastle, sat back a bit, team went at them, caused them problems. If you're not going at Liverpool, you're not going to cause them problems. They've got too much quality and Arsenal learned the hard way. And look, Arsenal's record at Liverpool and City is not good. Like Arteta's unbeaten in so many games. But if you include the away games, it's not. I think this could be like I don't know how. double check these statistics, could be wrong. But I feel like Arteta needs to be more aggressive. And look, a lot of those losses obviously came when they had Mustafi in the back line, but they've not won. And I feel like that could be a big difference. And I think the draw at the Etihad last year was very good because of the red card. I 100% get that. And I'm not saying that the approach was completely wrong in every game, but I think in today's game, should have started Eze, should have looked at Liverpool. I think just looking at Liverpool's first 2 games of the season, if I was Arteta, I would have said this is the time we go for 3 points, not go for a draw. I understood last time we went to the Etihad for a draw, but today I think she should have gone for the 3 points. Let's talk about Curtis Jones, because I thought that Curtis Jones was really good when he came on. I don't think McAllister was fully fit. I think obviously McAllister and Gravenberch, that's the midfield that you want to play together. But I don't think McAllister is 100% fully fit yet. But let's talk about this. So, look, Curtis Jones came on. He kept the ball nicely. I felt that Liverpool, in the second phase of build-up, struggled in that first half versus Arsenal. And I've always said I thought Arsenal were the better team in the first half. But Szoboszlai came on. He helped Liverpool get the ball better. I think he was a bit fitter than McAllister. McAllister did give the ball away a couple of times. And he brought a bit of composure, helped Liverpool keep possession. Because the best way to win a game is to control the game. You can have all the best attackers in the world, but if you don't control the game, it's difficult to get the ball to the attackers as much, to give the attackers as much chances. To create more chances, you need to have more control. And not that Liverpool created loads of chances, not that Arsenal created loads of chances, but Liverpool got more control of the game in the second half. The ball progression was better. And look, I think it was a smart tactical adjustment from Slot, who, in my opinion, outcoached Arteta in that second half of his decisions. I want to talk about Florian Wirtz because he was getting a lot of stick in the first half, and I thought Florian Wirtz was really poor in that first half. But I don't think Salah was any better, to be honest. Florian Wirtz, look, for £100 million plus signing, you want to see more early on. I get that new signings need time to bed and gel, but when you spend that kind of money, of course you want to see more. But I did think that Florian Wirtz had a quietly good second half, and you were seeing glimpses of it. Liverpool need to see more for his price tag. He's not a 50 million signing, he's a 100 million plus signing. But I think in those games where you're going to have the ball and be more aggressive, you will see Wirtz's quality. I don't think he's going to be a flop. I think, he's getting used to the league, he's adjusting. And the first half, he was too deep. I felt that he was trying too hard to get involved, and he's not a build-up guy, and he was a bit slow. But I thought that he improved after half-time. He found the pockets. He got further up. Liverpool had more possession and control. And I think when you have control and possession, that suits Florian Wirtz. And he was sharp with his passing. And I think, he created a good chance for an opening for Salah, who miscontrolled it. I think he's still adapting, and it's a physical game, but I think he was showing glimpses of his potential, his touch, his passes. He started to keep the ball a lot better in the second half. And look, 100 million, you want to see more right away. This is an expensive guy. You're not seeing that yet. But there's a good player there, and I think that he's getting way too over-criticised for the glimpses he showed in the second half. He almost scored as well, actually, and then I think it rebounded to Gakpo, who was offside. In general, I thought Van Dijk was good. I thought he was dominant. I thought Alisson was good. I think Arsenal, again, were looking to get the breakthrough for set pieces. But when you're coming up against Alisson in goal, not an idiot Manchester United keeper, it's difficult. Arsenal couldn't do what they did versus Man United because Arsenal, they're coming up against an actually good goalkeeper. And Van Dijk is, the best centre-back in the air. So, look, Liverpool actually, ironically, scored from a set-piece goal today. I thought Szoboszlai did really well in the hybrid right-wing role. I think, again, Ekitike, don't think he had the best second half, but I do think Ekitike had some nice touches and control and stuff, and I do like what I see from Ekitike. And in general, here are my points. Mosquera was excellent for Arsenal. He was good on the ball. He was reliable defensively. He was taking risks on the ball. I think the biggest compliment you can give Mosquera is didn't notice that Saliba was missing. I thought Calafiori had a very good game versus Salah. I think he's been probably Arsenal's best player the opening 3 games of the season. I think Madueke was probably Arsenal's brightest attacker today, was direct and dangerous and did a lot more than Martinelli. And I thought Arsenal defensively was solid. I think Arteta should just take more risks. So if I was going to give you my final thoughts, I think Liverpool had the individual quality to win the game, but they went for it more in the second half. They showed that they got that quality. I think Arsenal were a little bit too passive, playing a little bit of what I'd call handbrake football. And look, it was a huge win for Slot, 3 wins in 3, and Szoboszlai was the difference maker. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.